Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the guardian of the blue paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, the Metropolitan Division, how will the Flyers stack up? Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi, guys, and welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
That's right. He is the host with the most, Lance Green, and I am the co-host, SteelFlyers. How you guys doing? How you doing, Lance?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Oh, man. We're kind of chomping at a bit here a little bit on this show, aren't we?
I think so. It's exciting. I'm excited to talk about this.
I agree. I think we are too. And folks, let me tell you something here now, okay? This is how we're going to fly this week. We're going to switch it up here a little bit on you. Just slightly. Not too bad. Episode number 92, the Metropolitan Division, and how will the Philadelphia Flyers stack up? And we're going to break it down for you, and we're going to give you our take on how the rest of the division has improved around the Flyers for this upcoming season. Lance, I'm going to tell you something, man. I don't care who you start with, but let's get right into it. What do you say?
Sure.
All right, cool.
I think we should start with the Flyers. Let's start with the Flyers, get them out of the way. We all know it. We don't have to dwell on it. We probably don't want to at this point.
We've beaten that dead horse now, I think.
It's a bad taste in my mouth for sure, but
yeah, right.
So we'll start off. Let's how do you think the team have they progressed? Have they, gotten worse over time this season? How do you think they stack up, Steel?
All right. So
from just their basis of them from last season.
Yeah, just from last season to the start of this coming season.
Right.
So far, what the team has done to get to this point.
Right.
And that's how I based it off of all the rest of the teams in the division, by the way.
Right.
So we're giving it the same eagle-eyed judgment on not just the Flyers, but all the rest of the teams. So for the Flyers, I'm going to say this. They lack depth. They lack a proven backup goaltender. If Carter Hart, God forbid, gets hurt, that's going to be it. Okay, seriously. Ryan Ellis is on long-term IR. I don't think he's ever going to skate again for the Flyers. I think they're going to have to get some kind of quote-unquote arbitration for that, or he's going to have to give back some money or something. And I don't know how that's going to work, but I don't think he's ever going to put a sweater on again because he's still, here we are now, 2 seasons now, he's going to probably miss. And that's not just, let that get rehabilitated and you'll get back out on the ice. Not if it's taken 2 years, right? D'Angelo is a replacement, albeit a better replacement, but a replacement. You still have holes in defense. You still have you still lack true centermen up and down the lineup. You have 1 or 2 good ones, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. You don't have any real wingers. You lack defense. You did get a pretty decent coach who I think is going to, smack the team around a little bit, and the press conferences are going to be fun. Mm. But I think that's about the extent of what the Flyers are going to offer this year.
That's a lot. That's a mouthful right there. But I would tend to agree. I would actually say they got worse. For the fact
I was not trying to say that.
But you said, you basically said it, Steele. You told me a good one. But I think they got worse. And partly because, like you said, Ellis is going to be out still. That's a huge cap hit that we couldn't spend. That is just dead cap. So on not only that, $6 million plus that we couldn't spend to go get somebody else because we're stuck paying him, we had to go out and find a replacement for him, like you said, in D'Angelo, and signed him for $5 million. So not only did you not have the $6 million plus you spent on, Ellis, you now had to go out and spend $5 million worth of cap space to replace somebody in the lineup for him. Farabee's hurt. So it's a lot. It's a lot there. My assessment is overall, I think the team has lost. They're absolutely lost. Management's lost. They have no clear direction moving forward. I feel, although Fletcher's draft this year was good,
his best one, I think.
I think to date his best one, but still, out of all his drafts, and we talked about this a little bit last show, what player, if any, has come out of his draft class? He's had multiple ones now, and really taken the reins and, really went with it. Cam York's impressive, but he's only played in a couple of games. All these questions in mine are still there. So, like you said, Torts was an addition. D'Angelo was an addition. Those were the big ones. We got a fighter. Great. We signed him for 4 years. Not so great. What we beat that to a dead horse already. We signed a bunch of nobodies in Marody, Brooks, Grosneck, Bellapito. Okay, great. That's AHL talent.
Yeah.
That's going to be AHL talent for the rest of their career. That's not what I want to see out of my AHL team. I want to see young, impressive players that are up and coming, not 30-year-olds or 27-year-olds that can't make it out of the AHL.
Yeah,
I want to see draft picks there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Same old in my mind with the re-signs of Wade Allison, Jackson Cates, Hodgkins, Hogberg, Lazinski, McEwen, Radcliffe, Frost, Tippett. So we just kept everybody. We kept everybody, really. We even to add to that, we brought back a bunch of retreads. Justin Braun, retread, 35-year-old defenseman. Why? Kevin Connington, for a depth defenseman, again, he's going to play. He's a 32-year-old defenseman that's going to play in the AHL and be a call-up guy, I guess. I'd rather see youth coming up. I'd rather see the youth that we have down there get called up on defense. Mm-hmm. Give them a shot. Why are we giving these 30-some-year-old players a shot? As far as the draft haul went for this year, I thought it was overall pretty good. Like we said already, Cutter Gauthier was great. Kaplan looked good out of the third round. Bump, I really think is going to be good.
Yeah.
But like we said, we still have to see the development side of it. We've had great draft picks before in this era, but they have yet to really develop to be star players at the NHL level. Losses. I think we lost Oscar Lindblom through buyout, obviously. Martin Jones, a guy that was brought in because he knew the goaltending coach and they already had prior history in LA and won a Stanley Cup there, whatever. He's gone. He wasn't great while he was here, but I think even signing him back would have been better than starting Grosneck or Felix Sandstrom as a backup.
Like I said,
I truly think that the goalie duo of Hart and Sandstrom, I think that's among the worst in the league. I don't know how anybody can argue that at this point, especially in this division. Even if we stayed just in this division, it's the worst in this division. They decided not to sign back Keith Yandel, which was great. They decided to not, to this point, sign back Nate Thompson, which is great because he was hurt a lot and he's elderly at this point. As far as hockey terms go, Nate Thompson is a very huge human being, so I'll tread lightly on that comment there.
Yeah.
I do see him up in the press box, or at least I did quite a bit. So, yeah, I think the biggest question mark that still lies, and this would be my last point for the Flyers, is Ellis, his health, his questionable ability. Is he going to play again ever? We don't know. Signs are looking like it's a no in that aspect, and Hart's mental capability to be a starting goalie. I think we saw in previous years him break. He was, when he came up, one of the most sound goalies. You saw him going through different motions and different techniques to stay focused during the game and all that stuff, and that's all gone. And I don't know. Like you said, if something happens to Hart, they're really up the creek without a paddle. It's not looking good. I see a 7th or 8th place finish in the division for this team, let alone bottom dwelling for the league. Sadly, if things don't change or some prospect out of somewhere doesn't just come out, flying. So.
Yeah. All right. So who do you want to pick next?
Well, let's get one of the most hated Flyers rivals out of the way.
That's who I have at my number 1 spot too.
Right, so let's talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins, shall
we? All
right. In my mind, I think they just got older. I think majority of the team stayed the same.
Yeah.
No real changes, no real losses, no real additions. A couple of decent ones.
Rodriguez, they lost. That's gonna hurt.
Well, he's not lost yet. He's not signed by any other team. He's still out there. But assessment for this, I think they're just sticking with the experience. They're sticking to what they know. They did add Flyers prospect Jack St. Ivany. Like I said, they might because he was a Hextall pick. And when the Flyers didn't draft this, 6'3" defender that's over 200 pounds and a right-hand shot defenseman, why, I don't know. The Penguins quickly snatched him up. One of the best pickups for the Penguins this offseason that a lot of people will downplay or don't really know is Jan Bruta from Tampa Bay. Third pairing defenseman, first pairing. He played at times on the first pairing as well with Hedman, but 2-time Stanley Cup winner.
Yeah.
3-time finals appearance, 3 finals appearances. In the draft, they didn't do too much. The Penguins never do a whole lot in the draft because they tend to try to give them away to try to make the best of what they can while they still have Crosby, while they still have Malkin, while they still have Letang, all of which, are coming back. Malkin resigned, Letang resigned. They re-signed Kapanen. They re-signed D. Smith. So, like I said, not too many losses. Again, Evan Rodriguez was there as a loss. He had 19 goals last year. I think he was a plus player. I think the Flames are in on him right now.
Yeah, I think so too.
From the rumors I heard.
Yeah.
Which would be a great depth signing for them.
For sure. They could,
But, I mean, you look at what they do have, and what they do have is experience and scoring ability. Between Crosby, Malkin, and Carter, their 3 centers there, that's 3,362 points as a total. All right,
and I think that's actually 3,000 games too, because we know Jeff Carter's over 1,000 games. We know Malkin and Crosby are all over 1,000 games, right?
It's over 1,300 goals, almost 1,400 goals between the 3 of them.
Jeez, man.
All right, so and the last point, goalie tandems, Jerry and DeSmith again. Not bad, not great.
Well, maybe All-Star this year.
Somebody had to from the Penguins. They weren't the best team, and a lot of people were hurt. Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think, Steel, about the Penguins?
You know what? You basically just said everything that was on my list of notes.
Stole your thunder, yeah.
No, man, you're not stealing nothing. I am going to say this, though. They did re-sign Sullivan to a 3-year extension.
3-year deal, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I thought that was okay. I think
that's a smart move for them as well, too. The fact that Carter is coming back, the fact that Malkin's coming back, the fact that Sidney Crosby's coming back, that gives them 3 solid centers up the middle. That gives, it doesn't really matter who you put with those guys. Those 3 guys make anybody around them better.
I think, as you saw with Evan Rodriguez this year, nobody ever heard of him really before this year. He played 1 year and he scored 19 goals, and a lot of people were talking about him. And I think that's why a lot of people are kind of hesitant on signing him right now, because he may be asking for a lot. As all we know, he did have a great season last year. So, but part of that is because of who he was playing with. much like the Giroux effect here.
Exactly.
Would Matt Reed have had that many goals? Would Michael Raffle have that many goals those years that he played with Giroux?
Yeah,
No, they wouldn't.
Right.
NAK, when he played with Giroux a time, so that same effect for those players for sure.
I'm with you. Yeah. Look, I can't count Pittsburgh out until they're not in it. Because every single time I try to count them out, they prove me wrong, and they're right there in the thick of it. Yeah. Okay, and the last 2 years I tried to count them out, saying, they're getting old and blah 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 and blah blah blah, and wrong. So I'm not going to count out Penguins this year. I don't think they got better, but they didn't get worse.
Well, the main thing that they did wrong this offseason, and Hextall did wrong this offseason, is give term away. Yeah. They gave Malkin a 4-year deal. Malkin's 36 years old now. That'll make him 39 years old by the time his deal expires. Letang is already 35 years old. They gave him 6 years, so he'll be playing till he's 40. I think it is a, front-loaded contract for sure. The later years
they can't backload him anymore now.
Right. So, I think they're going to be lesser, getting paid a lot less as the years go by. But that's just a long time and a long commitment to players that have played a lot of hockey, a lot of playoff hockey, a lot of extra games over the course of their career. And, I hope they're me personally, I don't hope their bodies hold up so that the Flyers maybe have a chance to beat them sometime soon. But we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to probably be competitive. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? As long as Crosby is still making headlines in Pittsburgh, then Pittsburgh is going to still be part of the conversation. For and sure. when that name goes away, that's when the Pittsburgh is going to go away. I mean, seriously, that's just how it rolls.
Yeah, and I think they're going to go right back to what they did after they lost.
Me too.
After they lost Mero, they're going to stink for a couple of years, and then they're going to find that dime in a rough. Yeah, so. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Flyers can't get that lucky, but whatever. Yeah.
All right. Well, so that was exactly who I had on my list as well. Here was the Penguins first. I didn't really go in any kind of. I guess maybe I might have gone alphabetically, but then again I didn't, because my next team is the Blue Jackets.
Okay, let's talk about them.
And I'll get to go first on this one. I'll swing at the fences for this one. And we all know what the Blue Jackets did this offseason. I mean, when you land Johnny Hockey to be part of your team, and then you get Line A to sign a long extension, right?
Yeah.
I think the Blue Jackets are going to be a little bit tougher to play against this year. What do you think?
I definitely think so. The Blue Jackets, I love their GM. He really studies the league, studies other leagues, and the scouts really figure out guys from out of this country. He's not from here, so North America, he's from overseas. So he gets a lot of guys from overseas, but now he's kind of getting a couple of guys in here from, a good mix of guys from North America, either Canada or USA. And he's really done well for himself here. I think they've gotten a lot better. I think they built finally a true first line. And that's important. That is something that the Flyers haven't had for a long time, in my mind, possibly since, definitely the Legion of Doom line, I would say. But, they haven't had that dominant first line that everybody's scared of for a while.
Yeah, because, when the Legion of Doom line,
cool, but, just wasn't at that level, obviously. It's one of the best lines of all time. But
jeez, when that line stepped out on the ice, it wasn't if they were going to score, it was when they were going to score. You know what I mean? That was just, and Flyers haven't had that really since, I'm with you. All right.
Yep. So, like you said, Johnny Goudreau coming in, 114 points last year. He's going to be paired up with, really, I still like Line A. He's really one of my favorite players. I think a lot of people hated on him. I think he's grown up a bit, let's say.
Let's hope.
Let's hope so. for his sake. He's an amazing talent, and I think bringing in a veteran player like Goudreau, who's been there, who has some playoff experience now, can kind of, hopefully be an inspiration to him, take him under his wing if he'll listen, if he'll open up his ears long enough. And that first line is going to be great. They brought a big defender in, Eric
Gudbranson.
Gudbranson,
yeah,
big defender.
That's what I wrote on here too.
He's not one of my favorite guys in the league. He's been passed around a little bit, but he's big, he's physical, he's a net clearing, presence, so that's good.
Right.
They lost Nathan Gerby. He's still a free agent. He's 35 years old. No big loss there. More of just a filler. They definitely brought back some players, but definitely, the potential line of Goudreau, Jenner, and Line on the first line looks good. But you also have Jack Resselvlock, who I wrote about before, who I thought the Flyers should try to get when he was getting traded. He was underrated for sure. You got Voracek there now.
Yep.
Kent Johnson from Michigan is looking like he's going to come in. He was great at World Juniors, 9 points in 7 games.
Yeah,
and then you got Cole Sillinger, who I also wrote about and really liked a couple years ago. And this year they drafted well. Every year they draft well. But they got the defenseman, 6th overall, right after us, Jarek. Big right-hand shot defenseman, plays physical. I was a little leery about him. I was glad the Flyers passed up on him because of his injury history.
Yeah.
But, he's such a talent. I can see why the Blue Jackets took him. They got quite a good draft haul. Another defenseman, 12th overall. They got Luca Del Bluez from Minnesota. He was a scorer. I really liked him.
Yeah, they had 2 first-round draft picks this year.
They had 2 first-round draft picks. They did well with their second and third-round draft picks. Jordan Dumas, who played for Halifax.
Yeah,
100-point player. We talked about him.
Yeah, we talked about him. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I thought the Flyers should have been looking at him, being that he has the connection with Elliot Dejournay, played together. And they also drafted 6'6", 234-pound Russian player Kirill Dolzhenkov. I can't pronounce that real well, but huge player. I wrote about him as well, Steel, if you remember. I really liked that kid. I knew a lot of people were going to be sleeping on him, but I think he's a make-or-break player. I think he's going to be a force if he comes over, or he's just going to stay in the KHL and be a force over there and just fit that mold. But I think he's going to be pretty good, and I always like their goaltending duo. There's not an elite goalie for them. They kind of have a equal shares to that net.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep. So they brought the same guys back in Korpisalo and Merck. So
they serviceable. They were, exactly.
Elvis is good. He stepped up.
Lincoln's. Yeah. If you play in front of them, you know what I mean? Like, if you just play in front of a goaltender, you give a team a chance. You know what I mean? Because if he doesn't have to stand on his head and make save after save after save and be the one that has to win the game for you, then, you can make a half-decent goalie look pretty all-star if you play in front of him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, the Blue Jackets knew early enough, when the past couple of years, when they didn't have anything or they weren't going to make it, so they sold, and they got some great first-round picks.
Yeah, that's how they were able to
coming back, and that's how they got 2, first-round picks this year. They've had it, previously, and were able to, get quality players like Sillinger and all that before too. So, good on them, guys that can turn around and be NHL pros fairly quickly. That would be nice if, the Flyers could take notes and be able to do that as well.
Develop,
a play, but not even really develop. They drafted guys that were ready, were ready
So that means then their scouting department needs to be better, because then you can scout players that are more ready to come in. All right.
Sure.
So who do you got for number 3?
Well, I have one of my favorite teams when the Flyers aren't playing to watch, and that's the Carolina Hurricanes.
Agree with you 110% on that one.
All right. They have an amazing coach. Brenda Moore is a beast all day. So I think they stayed the same in my mind. They lost some people. They added some people. They always do this. They are not big on really management, and ownership is not big on paying out their players. They believe that their scouting department's good, both draft wise and in the league, to be able to sign players, and they have the bright spot, and they are a playoff team, so they can convince players to come in and play with them and play for their coach. So they can do that. They did that last season. Well, where they lost a lot of guys, they brought a lot of guys in. So that's kind of their MO. And so they lost Trocheck, Nino Niederreiter, Max Domi, who I really like. I think he's still kind of underrated.
Niederreiter is going to be the hit for them.
I like that. So, but Ian Cole, they lost. That's
another hit.
2-time Stanley Cup champ. There that they lost. He went over to Tampa Bay. Brendan Smith, big turnover, but they got some guys too. Paul Stastny came in, elder statesman. He had a great season in Winnipeg. Andre Kasse, Dzingel, Brett Burns came in, older guy, veteran presence. Not my favorite, especially for the salary cap, but Max Pacioretty, if he can get healthy, he's going to help that team out a lot.
I didn't write about him because he's going to be out with an Achilles
for quite a while.
For quite a while, if he's even going to make it this season.
Right.
And he's already 33.
Yeah, he's already older in the scheme of things. But what a name. I mean, I think over the last 10 years, he's sneaky good stats compared to the rest of the league. A lot of people sleep on him. He does have a ton of goals in the past 10 years' time, or even since being drafted, to be able to put him with a lot of players that you wouldn't think that he's in the same caliber as. So when we look at goaltending, Frederick Anderson's back, Ranta's back. They both were brand new additions to the team last year and came in and did great. Not a whole lot on the draft. So they got somebody pretty decent, a Russian forward in the second round. That's probably going to be good, but he's probably going to be a couple years away. But that is okay because they're a playoff team and they have the time to let him develop. So I really like the Hurricanes to possibly be coming out of the East in the 1 or 2 spot for sure. It's just, they have the turnover. They prove they can do it with whoever's out on the ice. They train them up right.
Yeah, I agree. I look for Kotkaniemi to take a bigger bite out of the center, being more of the second center now with the loss of Niederreiter.
Good point.
Okay. So they signed him to a big extension last year. He's going to be more of that focal point of the offense for them now moving forward. And that gives them now more more good centers down the line. You know what I mean? So I also do like the Stastny addition. I think
Colorado was really hoping for him.
Yeah.
But you can't have everybody, I guess.
That's right. And Carolina, you're right. They always seem to just lose guys and then add guys, and they just still kind of stay relevant.
Yeah, I mean, they're great signings like last year with Ethan Bear from the Oilers.
Oh, yeah.
Great signing there.
Right. And I thought the Kotkaniemi last year was a great pickup for them.
Listen, we talked about that previously too, and I wrote articles about that. How that more teams need to do that. They snuck out and they put a bid out on him when he was a restricted free agent, and they claimed they got him because the Canadians weren't willing to step up and pay him.
It's that Tulsky guy, man.
Yeah, I really like him.
See, yeah, man. I had to find a way to sneak that name in there, right? You know. All right. So that's it. I do agree, though. I think Carolina is probably going to fight for the division. At least I think they're going to fight for the division because they seem to still have a relevant team until we see them lose. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at. So, all right. Now we get into the I'd say the New York side of life. Okay. So I don't care who we start off with. I have New Jersey here next.
Okay, you want New Jersey?
Yeah, let's do New Jersey. Whatever. I think they're still kind of in the rebuild. We really thought they were going to take a step forward last year, and they kind of didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, they did deal with a lot of injuries.
They did?
Last year. Okay, so I'm looking for Heischer, Hughes, his younger brother, and the rest of that core to come out a little bit healthier this year and be a little bit more of a force this year as far as New Jersey is concerned. Okay? I think one of the things that they did was they hired Sergey Brylin as one of their assistant coaches. So I think that's going to really, really help New Jersey look to improve this year with their young core players coming back to health and things of that nature. You know what I mean? Plus, they've always been drafting very well as well, too. And they've always managed to have multiple draft picks in the higher rounds like they did this year as well, too. You know what I mean? So I think New Jersey is still kind of – they're still in that – yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, we wanted you to take a step last year and you kind of didn't. So are you going to take it this year? You know, and I guess we'll see. I see New Jersey maybe potentially kind of fighting with Philadelphia there for the bottom.
I do as well. I think they're slightly better. I like Pallet coming over from Tampa Bay. He's definitely an underrated player. That is a big addition, and Tampa Bay is really going to feel the brunt of losing him, I think. Brendan Smith came over from Carolina. They got Vidtek Vanek, goalie, Eric Holla in a trade. So, you know, some decent
updates and goal.
Yep. So, good additions. They lost Pavel Zacha in a trade, a guy I really liked. I thought the Flyers could use for his versatility. He's young, but honestly, like you said, I think the team felt that they just had way too many young forwards in the mix. You know, with Hughes, Dawson, Mercer. You already got Heischer there. A lot of good guys up front, but they needed some help in other places, so they went out and tried to get that. Now, draft-wise, like you said, they did pretty well. Nimchek, number 2 overall, you know, not bad, you know, defenseman there. They got my boy Seamus Casey from the United States Development Program. Really good player, really good puck-moving guy, some of the best hands out of this draft, period, not only by defender, but period. He's going to develop, I think. He's going to be a force on their blue line. So big additions coming their way soon enough to that defense, which they need. They definitely need it. And everybody has been saying it, and it's pretty easy to see. The Devils have gone downhill ever since Martin Brodeur retired. They went out and drafted Tyler Brennan, who, by some people's standards, was the top-rated goalie in this draft. I don't think he is. I think he's overrated. He didn't have great numbers. For me, I think they might have struck out with that. they took him at 102 overall, so it really wasn't like they stretched and tried to take him in the first or second round.
I mean, it wasn't
but he's got a lot of flaws. He's got a lot of good things that he does, and he's got a lot of bad things he does. And this goaltender's, just my vision of what his play style is. So, young team. They improved defensively, especially in a couple of years. You'll see that difference. Tried to upgrade the goaltending as well. Great additions, great try, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get you anywhere really out of the cellar. You're probably going to
in this division.
No, this division's a tough one. So I think they're going to be down there with the Flyers, and I think they're going to be down there with the Islanders, who I think we should talk about next.
I was just going to say, I think there's going to be those three teams, and it's funny. The Islanders, I mean, it's very interesting after letting Barry Trotz go last year.
Mm-hmm.
So LeMay is going to be the next best coach that and he's going to be that logic doesn't fly with me. So then they wait until the final hour before they re-sign everybody back, which they did. They, re-signed all their main, Dobson and Bellows and Romanoff are all players that are, coming back. But they all signed the same day, like at the last minute. Mm-hmm. Like Lou Lamoriello was like, all right, call them now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they're a lot like the Flyers. There doesn't seem to be a lot of direction in which they want to head.
Good way to put that.
You know what I mean? And they kind of took the off season off.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that.
They were just too busy on vacations and relax, enjoy. Oh man, I gotta sign some people.
Crap, I better do some stuff here.
Do something. Yeah. So not too many additions. Again, like you said, his name already. Romanoff came by way of trade, a 22-year-old defenseman. They traded a first-round pick for him. I don't know if I would have done that for this guy. He's okay for sure, and he has the potential to be better than he was last season, of course. But a first-round pick for that, I don't know. That seems kind of like the Flyers. It seems like kind of like the Flyers giving away one for who they gave one away for defenseman-wise, Ristolainen. So a lot of similarity.
Just had to go there, didn't you, Lance?
A couple of years ago, we're playing each other in the playoffs. And ever since then, they just went downhill. So losses, big losses here. Chara retired. He's older. He's older, but still a very physical presence. Clearing that net front presence out. A lot of key players. A lot of key players here are, and another eerily similar thing that is remnants of the Flyers here. A lot of amazing draft picks were made at the time, and they haven't really developed. Like you said, Bellows, all these guys that are great prospects when they were drafted, and just Dobson and all these guys, were supposed to be great players potentially, and they really just are all right, at this point, and really haven't developed, kind of like Frost, and so many that you could name that the Flyers have, guys that you thought were going to be presents in Radcliffe and all that too, on the Flyers roster by now, but they're not staples yet on this team. They had a ton of cap space, and they didn't really feel the need to go out and spend it. Didn't really draft amazing people. I did like Quinn Finley in the third round, USHL score.
Yeah.
Nobody really else impressed me overly in their draft. Their goaltending looks solid still, and I think they're going to have to rely on that again, sadly. They didn't really go out and get anybody to better this team to help out their great goaltending that they're getting from Sorkin and Varlamov. So I really like that duo, but I really think they're going to be tested, and for whatever reason, I guess the Islanders just didn't see anybody that they really liked or something.
Here's one of the things that I think really is kind of maybe might be a hindrance here to the Islanders. Sorokin is not quite good enough to be a number one, right? And neither is Varlamov. So they're both just about good enough to be. They're not quite good enough to be a number one. So they're letting in goals that they should probably be stopping, and they're costing the team is basically what I'm trying to say. So yes, they're still the same guys that they were there before, but they didn't make any improvements. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as you're not changing the guys playing in front of them and you're relying more heavily on the goaltending, and the goaltending is not quite, at that level, yeah, they're going to be kind of down there fighting, I think, with the Flyers, I think.
How'd that work out with Carter Hart, yeah? Same kind of scenario, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
We're wishing and hoping he was going to be, the next best thing, and kind of ruined him at this point. He's going to have a big comeback season, I think. A lot of people are down on him, and rightfully so. I think the Flyers should be looking. I think the Flyers should be looking somewhere else real soon, just in case.
I mean, it's sad to say that with him being so young and only being in the league for very little bit of time here. But don't have a lot of hope for the Islanders. But let's talk about the other New York team.
Okay.
That is not the Islanders, the exact opposite. And we're going to be talking about the division-winning New York Rangers, who were, one step away from making it to the big dance last year, right?
Yeah.
They made it to the conference final and weren't able to seal the deal there, right? So that's an improvement over the year prior to where they missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
To now making it to the conference finals. Here's my question about that. Is there going to be a letdown? Because you know how sometimes them teams get to that point and then they're not just able to put it back together and they just kind of fall back even further. Is New York going to be that way? I don't know. I don't really think they're going to be. I don't think there's going to be any problems there at all. In fact, I think they got better. They named Trouba as their captain. So I think that having a named captain is going to, obviously, help them for sure. And then, of course, how could you go wrong with Mr. Vezina? I mean, Igor Shesterkin. I mean, come on!
Amazing season for him for sure last season. And
plus,
then
they're bringing back Kreider. They're bringing back Fox. They're bringing back all these guys. Yeah. So, all right. I really think New York is going to win the division again this year.
I think Carolina's got it this year, but Rangers are going to be right there.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll go with you on that.
I want to see Igor's start to the season. Is he going to have a sophomore slump kind of thing?
That
let down a little bit.
Yeah. That's why I asked if there's going to be that letdown for that.
Right, because everybody and their mothers obviously just won the trophy, right? So he's going to be studied on film heavily. He's going to be the go-to guy now, so teams are going to make game plans to combat that. And I think the Rangers got no better, no worse. They stayed the same. They didn't lose a lot of people.
That's what I mean.
And their additions I think were wise ones. Trocheck, Yaroslav Halak, a very old goalie at 37, but very veteran presence. If he stays healthy, can be
good
a
in the
pretty
room.
good force. Yep, good.
Yeah.
You know, he's has some experience there. And I mean, as far as the Flyers concerned, the killers are still there for sure. Kreider, Zibanejad, Panarin, Adam Fox, all these guys completely tear the Flyers apart. And the only thing I see as a question mark in my mind is what the heck is going on with LaFerrin and Capo Caco? All right, two highly
re-signed.
Right, but I'm saying, where are they at? These guys were drafted super duper high, right? They are amazingly high draft picks, and they really haven't impressed me by any means to this point. You know what I mean? If other teams get these high of a draft picks, you know, you're wanting to see something out of them by now for sure.
I mean, at least Lafreniere now being second year on the team. Now, I get it, the sophomore slump, and I get it that, you know, you don't play nearly as many games until you get to the professional ranks and all that other stuff. But if he doesn't have a breakout year this year, then you pretty much have to put him in that category of, maybe I shouldn't have taken him number one.
Yeah, I mean, that guy had all kinds of numbers in, you know, juniors and everything, Team Canada, whatever,
just,
you know, all that
stuff.
Just hasn't been able to really make the jump yet and be effective. So that is a big question mark, because that will be the deciding factor of whether they stay where they are, which is still good, or whether they
win a division.
Yeah, or whether they win the division for sure with those two players.
Point. Yeah, that's a good point, because I wasn't really thinking about that when I was writing up my notes. And then now you brought that up, though, about the Lafreniere thing, because he really hasn't kind of come to fruition here. You know what I mean? Everybody was like, oh, New York Rangers got Lafreniere and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, well, he really ain't all that impressive. You know what I mean? Like, now that I've seen him, I mean, what? I've seen better guys play in the juniors.
Yeah, and I mean, same goes for Kako in my mind too. I mean, he was taken 19 second overall. So, I mean, he's played 3 years with the Rangers. The guy's drafted second overall. I mean, and he has 3 years, he has 26 goals. He had 7 last year. You know, he didn't play a whole lot of games. He played 43, played 48 the season before. So he's got to stay healthy. Number one.
That's for one. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. He's got the size. He's 6'3", 205 pounds. It's not like he's an undersized guy. He's 21 years old. So he's coming from Finland. So I get the kind of transition to North American style play. But I mean, Capo before that was playing in all kinds of tournaments against, you know, North American style hockey. Knows how the game was played over here. He played against Team USA, played against Team Canada. So, you know, he should have known what to expect. And same boat, you know, if these guys could take off, the Rangers will take off with a division for sure.
Exactly. And with quite the guys coming back for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all right. Wouldn't mind having some of them guys on our team.
All of those guys, yeah. Any one of them.
Right. That's what I said. I mean, one or two, and one. All right. So we saved the best for last. The Capitals.
Yeah.
I only say that just because I like to play, and you know, because I'm a Flyers fan. Come on, I don't want to see anybody else do better than the Flyers. But look, let's face facts. Capitals, I think, are going to be up there in the thick of it as well again this year. I mean, you got Ovechkin coming back, you know what I mean? And another year under Lavi. I don't see Capitals being I also think they got an upgrade there in goal. There, I think, quite handsomely, Mr. Darcy Kemper. Welcome to to Washington. Holy crap.
Well, I think they're going to be similar to what you said for the Penguins as well. Anytime you have, Ovechkin, now, you had Crosby for the Penguins, you're going to let them play. They are superstars. They are future Hall of Famers. They are Stanley Cup champions. So as long as those guys want to play, they will have a roster spot on this team. And especially Ovechkin. Ovechkin has played his whole career in Washington. That is, unheard of in today's standards. So, yes, you're right. Assessment, I think that, they were kind of banged up. They're kind of getting old there. So kind of the same thing as the Penguins, that, the age, they're going with experience there. They upgraded the goaltending in Darcy coming over from Colorado. But let's face facts here. John Carlson is good, but he's no Cal McCarr. So I'm with you. Let's say that,
I'm with you.
You look at Kemper's, numbers before he got to Colorado, and they weren't the greatest. So I think it's going to be somewhere in between that mix. I don't think you're going to see the kind of numbers or the ability to carry a team like he did with Colorado, because, that first line for Colorado scored him some goals.
I was just going to say, he didn't have to carry the team. He didn't even play all that great in the playoffs. No. In fact, he didn't even play all that great during the Stanley Cup.
No, he didn't.
Okay, so, but still, to me, as far as I'm concerned, that's an upgrade all day. It is an upgrade. Goal.
It is an upgrade.
And you've got guys with the likes of Tom Wilson and Carlson and some of the guys they got on their team playing defense. That's only going to spell good things for Darcy Kuemper.
Yep. I did like the addition of Dylan Strome. Strome, I coming over from Chicago. He's a young guy still. He was drafted pretty high. He really hasn't come and broke out of that shell yet. But I think not having to be such a guy or under a new team here, he's going to get a start over here. He's got Ovechkin there. He had people in Chicago where he didn't have to be the guy, but he was drafted so high that you thought he was going to be a replacement for, Taves and Kane, but he wasn't. He didn't turn out to be that, so it is what it is. But he's going to get a fresh start in Washington. I really like Charlie Lindgren coming over. If you saw his numbers in the AHL last season and when he was called up to the NHL last season to play for the Blues, they were phenomenal. Phenomenal. I think he is deserving of a backup spot in the NHL, and
I agree. Yeah,
I think he will run away with it. He was in Montreal. He had some depth there, and he was buried behind Carey Price, and he wasn't getting starts. And you had Primo there. You had a lot of Facali there as well at the same time. Like all those guys, it was just he needed a fresh start. He got that in St. Louis, and he's going to be pretty darn good for the Caps, I think. You had Borgstrom coming over for Chicago. Gustafsson, not big addition in my mind, but another depth defenseman there. We all know about him. Losses. Justin Schultz, I did like him. I think that will
That's going to hurt.
That's going to hurt a little bit. Samsonov, it's not going to hurt so much because of who they got as a replacement.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, they drafted one of the best players, I think, out of the draft in Ivan Miroshnikov. I wrote about him earlier this year. I think he is Ovechkin 2.0. I really do. I'll go out on a limb and say that they got him because of the fact that he had Hodgkin's lymphoma. He's still battling his way back from that. He is back out on the ice. I just saw this week. So he is healing up from that, and hopefully he can make a complete recovery and be the player that he was over there in Russia, because he is absolute force. He can do whatever he wants.
I mean, if you're calling him Ovechkin 2.0, I mean that's
what
some pretty
like.
rarefied air right there, buddy.
You can see he watched Ovechkin and he modeled his game after Ovechkin. In that sense, do I think he's going to be battling for the all-time scoring? At the time he's done, who
after
knows?
20 years.
Yeah, after 20 years in the league, who knows? But I do think he is going to come in. He's going to have an amazing start when he does make it to the NHL, and really, really exciting player to watch. And the sky's the limit for him. It's up to him whether he's going to win because he has the talent. He's just got to make it happen. Question marks for me, Anthony Mantha. I really like Anthony Mantha when he was with Detroit. He's a 6'5", 230+ pound, 27-year-old in the prime of his career. Still, he was kind of taken off in Detroit, and they got rid of him. And last year, he only had 9 goals and 23 points. Not outstanding. He played in 37 games. He was banged up. If the Caps are going to do better, if they're going to have a successful season, more successful season than he did before, he's got to take off.
And play more games.
Because, and play more games. Because, oh my God, if you saw this kid in junior, Mantha lit it up. He was one of the best scorers in junior.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was one of the best scorers in juniors in the past 20 years. He did okay in Detroit, but at that time, Detroit didn't have all that they had. And he was kind of left out there by himself with Bertuzzi. And, Bertuzzi was the one to stay. They shipped Mantha out so they could get more draft picks, which is smart. And they're successful for it now. Detroit is on the up-and-coming teams, and they have an amazing youthful team there. So, Mantha was a hard pill to swallow losing, but it was a risk. But they're gonna make out for it. But that is my key for the Caps. They need to have Mantha come back and be a force like he was starting to be in Detroit. So
where do you have Caps finishing?
I would say possibly third in the division. I do like them. You can't count out Ovechkin. He's going to put up 50 goals a year or darn close to it if he's healthy. The cast is his side. So, they've gotten a little bit older, but at the same time, they made some good additions. Not as many as other teams have, but they didn't really need to make as many as other teams had. So
I think the upgrading goal is going to be the huge difference for the Capitals this year.
Yeah. Not just the starting goalie, but the backup goalie as well. They got 2 solid additions in goal. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about here. I really think the addition in goal is going to be a huge factor for the Capitals this year. Mm-hmm. And I kind of have to agree with you on that as well, too. I see them like third. Mm-hmm. So, I see New York, Carolina, Capitals, maybe Penguins, right? And then it's all irrelevant after that. Blue Jackets. Blue Jackets might be the one to surprise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Carolina falters, or if the Caps falter, or if New York falters, I think Blue Jackets could capitalize and be that sleeper team. So I'll call it that. I'll call the Blue Jackets the sleeper team of the division. I'll call the Rangers winners of the division. Carolina 2, Capitals or
3-4, yeah, depending on how good Columbus does, yeah.
And Pens 3-4 there, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But the Flyers are in trouble for sure, and we talked about the whole Metropolitan Division, but the rest of the East got pretty good too. Let's look at this real quick, guys. Florida, Matthew Tkachuk. We'll leave it at that. The Bruins, Lindholm came over at the tail end. Pavel Zacha came over. That depth has gotten a lot better. Buffalo, still a train wreck, but they got Jack Quinn, Owen Power. They signed Eric Comrie. They got a lot of youth coming. Detroit is a powerhouse waiting to happen.
Yeah,
they brought over Husso from St. Louis to be one of the 1-2 duos in net is amazing. You got Raymond, you got Larkin, you got Bertuzzi, you got one of the best defensemen in the league, if not the best defenseman behind Cal. Insider, Montreal. Let's hope for a healthy Jonathan Drouin. And they did get Justin Barron from Colorado, which will help their defense out.
Big time.
The Sens, we all know they got Giroux. They got
they really stacked up.
They stacked up for sure.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I'm looking I would say the Sens actually could make the playoffs.
Yes, I think they do.
With DeBrincat
there, DeBrincat's there. And they got Jake Sanderson possibly making it out, USA defenseman coming up. Cam Talbot,
Well, it was an upgraded goal there, though.
Yep, I think it was because he did play well for Minnesota. I think he kind of got gypped when Flower came over and tried to make that playoff push. He kind of got gypped because he was playing really well for Minnesota.
I agree.
Tampa Bay, they had some losses, but they came right back with Ian Cole. Cal Foote, looked for him to make the team, possibly. Defenseman there. We all know his dad, Adam.
Then they re-signed everybody.
Yep, they re-signed most people. Nick Paul was an addition there, big addition and for a depth center. Hayden Fleury was there coming over late last season too, I believe. So some good additions for the rest of the East, and the Flyers are just rough. It looks rough waters for the Flyers this year, guys. That's all I can say.
That's a good way to put that. Like, it just seems like the water just keeps rising, and the Flyers aren't building the blocks underneath to keep their head above the water. You know what I mean? And so, well, I'll tell you what, man. I think we had a good breakdown of the Metropolitan Division, and maybe we'll do this for something else. Who knows? Whatever. But we wanted to give you a breakdown of the Metropolitan Division and how we think the Flyers are going to fare, or how they're going to stack up against what's happened to the rest of the division, and what the teams have done and what they've accomplished and what they were able to improve or not improve, or, whatever the case is. So, Lance, tell the folks where we can find you and where we can get a hold of you.
Sure. You can always find me now on SteelFlyers.com. exclusively, and you can find me on Twitter at LanceGreen39.
So, how about a little update on some things? We've been talking about the website. I have a feeling that the website is going to probably be we may not make it for the opening day of football season, but we'll definitely be riding high before hockey season gets here. That's for sure. So submitted all the stuff for the store. Had a great talk with the developer. Lance, we've already gone over all that great stuff, and going to be looking good. Can't wait to see the new website and how that's going to fly, and what you guys are going to think of it. And I'm very excited. I know Lance is very excited about it, and we can't wait to get it out there with the new store and all that other stuff. So with that being said, all you have to do is go to any of your podcasting platforms. Big thank you to Spreaker for helping us to get our podcast out there to all of those platforms, Apple or iHeart or Amazon, you name it. Type in Hockey Writers Inc., find us, like us, subscribe us, and appreciate all the listens and all of the support from you guys. Really do appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52, or you can find all the great work from all the great folks at SteelFlyers.com, meaning the great Pearl of Wisdom, the Peyton on the Radio, and the Sports Fanatic News, and of course, the great Hockey Writers Inc. and the Steel Flyers podcast. So we'll catch you all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc.